Hi and welcome back to a new video. We recently did a water cooler comparison of the most recent and high-end water cooling blocks available, finding out that the AlphaCool Core 1 had an exceptionally good performance. And then, especially from the international and the US community, I received a lot of feedback and questions why we did not test some Optimus water cooling blocks in our video. And there are multiple reasons for that. The main reason was because it's hard to get in Germany and in Europe. Ordering directly from Optimus in the shop, I had to pay $270, which is already quite a lot. On top, I had to pay $43 of shipping, and importing it into Germany, I had to pay a combination of VAT and import taxes, which was additional 25%, resulting in a total of $390, which is probably quite a lot for just a water cooling block. So that's why we are here trying to find out what kind of cooling block you get for this price. For the smart money savers among you, Hetzners CyberWeek starts on Monday, the 27th of November. With hundreds of thousands of servers in operation, Hetzner is a leading hosting provider and data center operator in Europe. Hetzner's market expansion has occurred both domestically and also internationally due to its blend of cutting-edge technology, reasonable price, qualified support and flexible customer service. In Helsinki, Finland, and Nuremberg and Falkenstein, Germany, they manage their own state-of-the-art data centers. In addition to various cloud plans, they also provide powerful dedicated servers at incredibly low rates. So don't miss the promotions and actively check out Hetzner's website and their socials. Click on the link in the description for more information. Before we take a closer look at the water cooling block itself, I want to talk about a few things. First of all, it's an AMD block, which means that we cannot reuse the data from the previous test because we were testing on an Intel platform. That's why I decided to just test versus the AlphaCool Core 1, which was the best cooler we had in the previous test. So that should give us some very good base metric. We will test multiple scenarios in today's video. The first one will be the normal cooling just on top of the heat spreader of a 7700X. And later on we will also test direct die versus the micro. And there are a few things I will say about that, but that will be for later. So let's just look at the Optimus water cooling block. There's a manual inside. Well, not really a big manual, but some additional information and what's included in the delivery. The first impression, honestly, is insanely good. The quality surface finish of this block and also the weight, damn. It's 700 grams, this water block. And that's mainly because of this huge piece of brass that's like black ceramic coated. Black ceramic or ceramic in general should just be aluminum oxide, but that should make the surface a little bit more tough than just having normal brass and like nickel plated. So yeah, but first impression and look, really good. Same kind of quality and finish we can find on the contact or cold plate of this cooling block. And it's also pretty difficult to even catch this on camera because it's mirroring so hard that, yeah, the autofocus will go crazy. You can see the camera here. Yeah, quality, finish is perfect. I'm just not a fan of those Phillips head screws. I think like Torx or like hex screws would give it higher quality feel. But yeah, first impression, really nice. Mounting wise, pretty simple, and it's also one of those hard mount solutions similar to what AlphaCool is doing with the Core 1. So without any kind of springs, we have the standoffs that go into the motherboard and also those nuts that can be screwed down with this screwdriver, which is included. And that's basically it. I also wanted to investigate how even the cold plates of both Core 1 and Signature V3 are. So I'm using our Keyence LMX for laser evenness measurement. The AlphaCool Core 1 is a little bit convex, but not too much, and I would say that the area of convexity is rather small. Now compare it to the Optimus Signature V3, and I would say that is pretty much the perfect convexity which we can see in the center. So for example, if you want to mount this on top of a heat spreader, this will make sure that you always have perfect contact in the center of your CPU. So on IHS, that is pretty much perfect, but it could also be negative if you want to use it for direct die mounting. This is going to be our test setup, and as I said before, we're going to use a 7700X. The reason for that is pretty simple, because I also want to delete the CPU for further testing later on when we do direct die, and I don't want to delete another 7950X because I only have one undeleted or like stock CPU left. That's why we're going to use this one, and I'm going to like run the base test first with the AlphaCool Core 1 and then afterwards the Optimus. It's the same test setup as last time. We have our Aqua computer sensor on it, that displays about 150 liter per hour for the Core 1. I have 3 temperature sensors in total attached to it. Well, 2 attached and 1 is built in, where you can read 26.5 degrees Celsius water temperature. And I will, as usual, record the water temperature during the run and then deduct it from the results. So we have a water cooler. So we have a water temperature normalized result where the water temperature will have no impact or like no difference on the result comparing the different coolers. To make sure the water coolers are not bored, I overclocked the 7700X to 5.4 GHz, 1.36 volt is set in BIOS. So that should be a very good baseline. That's also pretty much the max I can do with this CPU. As you can see, it's going to be, toasty on the thermal limit. I will make sure that it's not thermally limiting to not impact the results. Then I will take the average out of the CPU cores of 10 runs and build the average out of the 10 runs to get our baseline number for the Core 1 and then the same for the Optimus. The water temperature is recorded at the same time and fluctuations in the water temperature will be deducted from those runs to make sure that it's temperature normalized. As a second scenario, I will have 30 minutes of gameplay of Battlefield 2042, which is quite CPU intense and should just be a nice second metric to also get some probably more realistic daily temperature values. Installation went totally smooth, no issues, just added the standoffs, then the screws, bolted it down, and yeah, here we are. I will add the fittings and then we will check the flow rate. Same pump speed and settings as all the other tests, and you can see this one increased to 170 liters per hour. So that is actually quite a little bit better than the Core 1, seems to be much less restrictive. Exact same settings as last time, you can see same clock, same voltage, and we can already see a slightly lower temperature on the cores. Obviously this is not water temperature normalized, so that is something I have to do afterwards. But just so you see, it's the same setting, and I will now repeat the same test with 10 times Cinebench and then get the average. I just finished the evaluation of the data and we will first look at Cinebench R23. We see 93.6 degrees Celsius on average on the AlphaCool Core 1 and 91.3 on the Optimus Signature V3 AMD. This means the Optimus stayed on average 2.3 degrees Celsius colder than the AlphaCool cooler. In the gaming scenario, as expected, the difference is smaller, 57.3 degrees Celsius on the Core 1 and 55.7 on the Signature V3. So still 1.6 degrees Celsius colder. Okay, so keep in mind how well the AlphaCool Core 1 block performed already in the previous test versus all the competitors. And then now seeing how well the Optimus block beat even the Core 1 and with what kind of margin, it's insane. It's insane how well this block performs. And then I also took a look at the structure of this block, and that's where you get the explanation for it. Because you can see a cut width of 0.2 millimeter and the fin that is left is only 0.1 millimeter wide. So that allows a huge fin density and at the same time huge surface area for heat dissipation in this block. And I have my biggest respect for making this kind of cold plate because I know how difficult it is on a CNC level to make this kind of structure. So biggest respect for making this cold plate happen. Now we get over to the strange part of things, which has nothing to do with this block, because in my opinion it's a brilliant block and probably or pretty sure it is the best block out there you can buy. But their marketing is kind of weird. So if you look at the product page on the Optimus, it has huge claims when it comes to temperature. And everything compares the Optimus block to direct die cooling solutions. So they have this claim of I think 8 to 12 degrees Celsius better direct die versus other direct die coolers. And that's the interesting part, 1 to 4 degrees Celsius better mounted on top of the IHS versus a different cooler direct die. And then obviously this was going around all the communities and everything, and then somebody asked on Reddit, so which direct die cooler are you talking about? And then Optimus said they want to stay classy and not call out the competition, but yes, it's the Mycro direct die cooler. So basically everything they advertise is versus this block, which is already kind of strange to do. Usually I cannot recall any other company or my company on the product page directly advertise versus somebody else. That's something quite odd, but okay, maybe do so. Then keep in mind they said they want to stay classy, and then on a Discord server they said that there is a lot of misinformation. Apparently we are spreading around the micro direct die. So I got in contact with Optimus. I straight up asked them, so what kind of misinformation do you think we are spreading about micro direct die? And they did not answer the question, but then asked a lot of questions or did question the way I test. which I can understand because maybe they want to find out more information, like more transparency of how I test, but typically I'm showing all that. Like in the previous water cooling block test video, I showed all the settings, everything, how I test, how I record temperature, that it's normalized on water temperature, so a change in water temperature has no impact on the compared results and all that. So yeah, here we are. And I had a long discussion with them, and basically the outcome was that they don't agree with how I test. They basically think it's wrong. And I think there is no wrong testing, but just different situations, because they think you have to test all the blocks with like max load under prime 95 for long duration. They also have a very transparent way of showing their testing on their homepage, which is nice. But there you can also see they test with a chiller. I don't even have a chiller to test this to begin with. I also don't think a lot of people at home have a chiller to test or like compare their values to. And I personally think it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you repeatedly do the same for all the blocks. So for example, what we did just now was first of all test Cinebench R23 and then test a gaming scenario. So those are not wrong tests, it's just a different scenario. It's a different scenario than Prime 95. Doesn't make one better or one worse. It's just one customer might be interested in seeing gaming numbers, one might be looking for Prime 95, then you have to like deliver those tests. Doesn't mean that one is better than the other. As long as you keep all the like testing parameters and everything, temperature recording the same, which is something like I'm honestly always trying my best to do so. Obviously there will always be mistakes somewhere here and there, but I'm always trying my best to like deliver the best data I can do. So to sum this up, Optimus claims that this block is 1 to 4 degrees Celsius better on the IHS versus the micro direct die Delidded, which is pretty simple to test. We will just delete the 7700X, put the micro on and just see what kind of temperature we have. Pretty sure you're already aware of how this works. So we put the CPU in the Delidder, put the slider back on, then we will add all the screws. I have to move the slider back and forth like 50 times until the IHS gets loose. I will do that and you don't have to watch it. So we will be back with the Delidded CPU. Both CPU and block are ready to go. Applied some Conductonaut Extreme on there. I also want to highlight that the previous testing was done with normal Cryonaut Extreme. And I also decided to do so because if you follow the recommendation from Optimus, they advise to go with normal paste instead of liquid metal. And that's why I was doing the first test with normal paste and now direct die with liquid metal. Micro direct die is mounted, and if we switch to the flow rate, you can see it's 163-64. So it's a little bit more restrictive than the Optimus, but also less restrictive than the Core 1. Same profile, just reapplied, no changes, still 5.4 GHz. I'm going to rerun Cinebench. As you can see, same power consumption as with the Optimus block. It was also around 144, so it's exactly the same scenario, same Cinebench run, but you can already see we had about 94 to 96 there with Optimus, but this is definitely lower. Well, I would say it's kind of as expected because we can see that direct die with the micro leads in 12 degrees Celsius colder temperatures than with the Optimus Signature V3 without direct die. But according to Optimus, it was supposed to be 1 to 4 degrees Celsius colder than the micro. And like honestly speaking, I have no clue how this would work out technically. In gaming, as expected, the difference is much smaller and we can only see a benefit of about 4 degrees Celsius with direct die over the Optimus solution. The last thing we can do and test now is putting the Optimus on a direct die frame and thus also do direct die with the Optimus. And I would personally expect that this block should beat the micro simply because the surface area this block has is just so much larger, so it should be able to dissipate a bit more heat. The only thing I'm concerned about a little bit is the convexity of the cold plate, which you can also nicely see in the reflection. But yeah, that's something we will just have to find out. Okay, that should be interesting. So Optimus is prepared, so is the direct die frame. I will mount everything and we will look at the temperatures. One disadvantage the Optimus has, and that's the same for any other like stock cooler with AM4 mounting if you want to adapt it for direct die, is that it's using the outer screws and not the inner one like the micro, because with the like extended length, it's easier to tilt the block, as you can see. So you have to be really careful while mounting it and always go like in an X pattern, like slightly tighten, go over, slightly tighten, go over, just in an X pattern to make sure you have a good mount. Again, obviously, same profile, and we will repeat Cinebench. First impression is that the cooler could be like 1.5, maybe 2 degrees Celsius better, at least just looking at the maximum temperatures. But I will now repeat my 10 times Cinebench, get the average, and we will check. This result honestly surprised me, because from the first run I thought that the Optimus cooler would run colder. But now also after temperature normalizing, I found out that they basically perform identical. I had like 0.3 degrees Celsius difference between those two coolers, and on direct eye that is definitely measurement tolerance and like mounting tolerance. So I would say they both perform exactly the same when it comes to direct eye. To sum things up, this is an extreme block. Extremely expensive, extremely heavy, and the performance is also extreme. Especially on the IHS, it performs extremely well. So much better than the Core 1, it totally surprised me. Then again, I don't understand why they base everything around this block on this product. Like the entire marketing of this is versus this, which doesn't even make sense because this is like half the price. So why would you feel so great beating a product that's half the price? And then at least in my testing, it didn't do it. And in all the other scenarios where this block is just the best in the world, you don't really focus on it. It's pretty obscure. You're kind of killing your own product with weird marketing claims, which is not necessary because it is the best block you can buy. And if somebody out there is looking for the best block for non-direct eye, that's the block you can get. And I'm still not happy about this situation, like me testing a product against competition. But since they are doing the same and claiming weird things, then I thought, okay, because I'm also getting messages for this, kind of forced to do so. But I would be happy if there's a different reviewer, maybe somebody who's like not related to any of the companies, to test exactly this. I'm also happy to like send exactly those sets to somebody else so he can just double check and maybe do his own findings. That's something I would definitely appreciate. About 2 weeks later, meanwhile, I talked to Aris from Hardware Busters and also Steve from Gamers Nexus. Steve, meanwhile, also reached out to Optimus to get a sample from them, and I also shipped one micro direct die to him as a sample, so we should get some more independent data very soon. And I will ship this Optimus block together with my micro direct die to Aris from Hardware Busters, so that should give us more independent data. I think that's the best result for both parties. Not sure when this content will be available, but at least I think in some time we should get more independent information. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye bye.